participants, and we are going to discuss sequential and global learners. These are the preferences from the learning styles inventory that you completed for us when you completed our research packets. We're going to focus specifically on sequential and global learners. What you see is the diagram that was presented in your packet in terms of your results for your learning preferences. We're going to focus on the bottom set of preferences. Sequential is on the left and global is on the right. Remember that the number that you receive or the score that you receive helps you understand where your preferences are. For example, if you have an 11B in that section, then you're probably much more of a global learner than you are a sequential learner. On the other hand, if your score is a 1A, then you're probably somewhere in between sequential and global learning. Sequential and global learners have different preferences in terms of what works best for them. So if you are in the middle or balanced between the two, sometimes your learning preferences will depend on the material and your interest level in the material that you're studying. Generally, sequential learners learn in logical steps from one place to another. They tend to like things like timelines. They find solutions with logical stepwise paths. They like to follow directions to determine results. Most college courses are taught in a way that favors sequential learners. You learn the first concept, then the second concept as related to the first concept, and so on. Global learners tend to learn in what we call large jumps because they need to understand the material as a whole before they can understand the parts. It seems like when you're learning as a global learner, you suddenly get the information. There's a light bulb that occurs, but actually it's a series of processes that you take when you're trying to learn. Basically, it's information that you need. It's important that you understand the big picture of overall the importance of what you're studying and then begin to understand the steps. So if your professor is talking about sequential steps or particular parts of what you're learning, it is important to ask questions about the overall picture and use of the information that you're receiving. You need to see the whole forest, as it were, rather than the trees or even the leaves on the tree. Global learners tend to find solutions to complex problems quickly or in novel ways. And most global learners cannot always explain how they got to the solutions, because you tend to look at things in the big picture and work your way backwards. So some study tips for sequential and global learners. Sequential learners need to ask an instructor who skips around from topic to topic to please fill in the missing steps, to connect the dots for you, and for you to understand how one type of material that you're learning is related to what you've learned in the past. You can also fill in missing steps yourself by using references or other materials. You'll be able to use the Ultimate Course Search to fill in your own missing steps by typing in terms and the search results will help you understand how those terms are related to other terms that you are learning. Outline your lecture material in a logical way to help you understand the steps of your learning, and practice global thinking by relating your new material to things you already know to help you with the steps of knowledge. If you're a global learner, it is important that you skim your chapters in your textbook to gain an overview before you try to read and study the material, because remember, you like the global picture first. And that is very important. It's also helpful to study topics in large chunks of time instead of a little bit each night, and you might find that you tend to study better when you have several hours to study for a particular subject. Relate the subject that you're studying to things you already know to help you understand the bigger picture. Ask your instructor or look at references to help you see connections between material. And have patience with yourself, because sometimes it seems like you're not understanding the material and suddenly there's a light bulb, like I said, and you suddenly get it. So it might take a little bit longer, but you're going to understand, a global learner will understand material in a more complete way. Thank you for participating in the iSECURE NSF project.